liked your early defensive projections based on how many the Spurs had scored. Like, I think 4 minutes in, and then through the first quarter when they were on pace for 168 to 192 points. I enjoyed those.
The first time out, the Spurs were on pace for 192 points. Settled that one down, though, tremendously.
They did.
That was really fun. That was a very entertaining game. I watched Tim Legler after the game on ESPN, and he said, look, this is the way the Mavs are going to have to win. If they're considered a good team, they're going to give up a lot of points. They're not going to be good at defense. They're probably not going to be very good at rebounding. But their bet is in the last 3 minutes, they have played the game closely enough. It will be a high-scoring game. Can Kyrie and Luka, that combination, close out games better than whoever they're playing against close out games?
I will say this, for one game, and that's all we have to go off right now, I was impressed at the defense in the last 3 quarters as opposed to getting punched in the face in the first quarter. Because like you, like probably a lot of fans, you give up 43 points because one of the jokes in our thread was, hey, they're giving up 40, and then it was 43. It looked like, oh no, are we going to give up 140 points in this game?
Yeah, I actually, at one point early in the second quarter, I asked Choppy, because he's a gambler, I said, if I put the over-under on 129 for the Spurs, because I knew they weren't going to score 192.
Sure.
But I was like, I thought realistically, with 10 minutes left in the second quarter, I was like, I think they're going to get to 130 tonight. And they didn't. They got to 119. So, yes, to that point, the Mavericks did play better defense as the game went on. And I think that I give a lot of credit to Jason Kidd. The players deserve most of the credit, but I thought Jason Kidd did a good job of making adjustments rotation-wise to have scoring out there, plus try to slow down the Spurs' easy three-pointers or offensive rebounds, layups, and dunks.
Is that so? Number one, maybe talking point for y'all specifically coming out of this is it the different rotational patterns? Is it the ability to go faster? Is it Derek Lively? Like, what stood out to you?
Lively's the biggest story, I think.
Okay.
I really do like. I know
he looked really good yesterday.
I think I got what I expect out of Luka and Kyrie. You get your 55 points, something like that, out of the two of them.
Which, by the way, how crazy is that? Third 30-point triple-double ever to start a season across the NBA.
History of basketball.
Yeah, or third person, along with Giannis and Oscar Robertson. But I think you're right, Corey. I got what I expected.
Yeah, and
That's
Lively,
crazy.
first person ever in their debut to have 15, 10, and 85% from the field.
Is that
or something
right?
Like that. Yeah. So,
Whoa.
dude, you can play with stats all you want.
That's true.
It's fun and everything, and it is fun. But I think he's the biggest story. But I think that, like, Grant Williams is a story that's going to be understated, I think, because he's not going to get you 35 points every night. He's not going to be this and that, but he can be a very good. We discussed this in the conference room. You're glad that he's on your team.
Yeah,
you have a piece like that. Whereas it just felt like last year there was just a collection of people in Luka, and now it feels like they're kind of doing more team oriented things on the court.
And I think that Kyrie, in a way, I'm not saying he had a bad game, but there were times in the fourth quarter where you're like, come on, fourth quarter Kyrie, where you at, right? Because he missed a little floater that you thought was going to be an easy shot. He missed an open three, but he came through when Luka threw the ball to him in the corner. Big 3-point shot. They got out in transition off of playing good defense. Lively and Luka combined to play great defense, and then it led to a Luka pushing the ball and Kyrie getting a layup late in the game. Like, I thought we saw some really positive signs of what they said they were going to do better from last year in the first game. Will it continue for 82 games? I don't know. Or 81 more? I don't know. But we did see the things they said they had to get better at or change, they did, at least in the first game.
I'm curious on the Josh Green front, how you're feeling about him. Is he this guy? And that's what he's always kind of going to be this guy?
But
he's our guy, so.
See, I don't know that, though. I feel a little bit better knowing they did make the investment in him.
Yes.
And he'll be here for several more years. It doesn't feel like you have to, look, I want him to get, and he got plenty of minutes yesterday.
30,
right.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you have to rush, because otherwise you're going to rush to try to maximize value this year.
Yeah.
But now you're like, well, we did get the extension.
I watched him play that Detroit preseason game. Lively looked really good in the Detroit preseason game, and I'm like, I'm not going to say much about it because I've seen Jay Crowder dominate in his rookie year in preseason, and then yes, he ended up being a solid player in the NBA, but it was not like preseason Jay Crowder where I was like, dude, he is looking great. So in that Detroit game, Josh Green looked great, arguably your best player. It was Kyrie who was probably your best player, but Josh Green without Luka, you're like, damn, he's making all his shots. He's making great decisions. He's finishing. He's doing all of these things. So in game one, that wasn't like the Detroit final preseason game, but he did show in that Detroit final preseason game that he can have a major impact on this team. It'll be interesting going forward how they use him. Are they going to use him off the bench all the time? I do think that I could see him in the starting lineup with Williams.
Sure, I could too.
And Luka and Kyrie. And I think Lively.
Well, and because I also don't think you're going to see most of the season where Seth Curry almost doesn't play at all. Like there's going to be some variations, and I do realize that San Antonio was not supposed to be a good team.
Right. They're going to be probably a 30-win team this year.
But I was impressed with a few different things last night, and the Mavericks won.
Yeah.
So good start.
How many wins will San Antonio have?
I'm going to guess around 30. They won 22 last year.
Okay. All
That's
right.
an 8-game improvement.
That feels about right.
Yeah. I think, Mike, one of the real fun things that we're doing is right now we're talking baseball games as if they're football games, right?
Right.
And basketball games, we just started the season. By the end of the season, it would be nice for the Mavericks to be in position where we have these moments where we can really do that. But I think we could walk away from a win to open the season, and you got to see Wembanyama. I mean, like, that was something you got to see, too. I think you can
really
walk away from it. And, Mike, that might be the next, 8 years. We might have Lively and Wembanyama battles back and forth. That might turn into something.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If that's the case, hooray for the Mavericks, because we did great. If they're battles, as in, like, this is a competitive situation, that would be phenomenal.
So when I became a Mavericks fan was in the mid-'80s, and it was Patrick Cummings and Kurt Nymphius as the guy. Like, it was horrible, right? And that's why they drafted Sam Perkins. So if you're like, how did they draft Sam Perkins over Charles Barkley? Because that is the way it went. Sam Perkins went 4th, Charles Barkley went 5th, Michael Jordan went 3rd. So that's who the Mavs drafted. Perkins had a great career, but the two guys sandwiched there are two of the 30 greatest players in NBA history. One of them the greatest. But the Mavericks have never been able to find a center. In the history, from 1980 to 2023, they have never been able to draft a center who was any good and stay with the team. Could this be the first one? It's one game.
Yeah.
And they probably did draft one in Roy Tarpley, but he was a drug addict and couldn't stay off of drugs. So
he was going to be awesome.
Right. They've drafted one in the history of the NBA, and he was a drug addict, unfortunately. So could this be the first guy ever that they draft and he actually is a starting center for the Mavericks for a decade, and you know who he is and reliable? I saw the one play from Derek Lively that I was like, oh, wow, very different, and didn't see this at Duke at all, was when he caught a ball underneath the basket. I want to say Luka passed it, and he went up and under, high off the glass with a little bit of maybe English. There was touch there. And I was like, the dunking, the rebounding, you saw that at Duke. At least if you watch stuff, you saw like, okay, he can definitely catch lobs.
That was AAU Derek Lively right there.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, that was more than just I can dunk a basketball player. I do have coordination and athleticism here around the rim.
Yeah, that play caught my eye because he looked like he had good hands there. But then there was another one later in the game. I think he got a rebound, and he faked one way and spun back around and finished with his left. And I was like, oh, we got a dude that can do a lot of things around the basket. And that's
good
something
hands,
that's
good feet.
Yeah, his hands look good.
He's going to get stronger, too, because there are times where he got bullied, but he's going to get stronger. He's 19 years old. It'll probably take years. It's not going to be he's going to get stronger this year. But.
Yeah. But, Kevin, you say that was AAU version. I wonder if that's in him, and then he goes to Duke, and he learns how to be a teammate, and now you combine those two versions, and you got a really good player to go along with these other guys.
So the thing to keep an eye out for that is I've seen the AAU games highlights where he can shoot the three. I just never saw that at Duke. But there are people who will tell you He has that in his arsenal.
Right.
I'm not anticipating that immediately, but just somewhere down the road. If we could for just 1 second, I wanted to backtrack to Grant Williams because you brought it up, Corey, and I'm really glad that you did, is Grant Williams was brought in here for defense, and it's just one game. But if you can get Grant Williams to average, let's say 12, 13 points a game, I think that is going to be a good addition for this team.
Yes.
Not that it wouldn't be already.
I'm with you, and that's where finally the Mavs decided we don't just want one ball handler. Like, it was a concerted effort to have no ball handlers on the Dallas Mavericks. It was amazing to me. I'm like, you're sure you just want Luka and you really want 14 other guys on the team that really struggle to dribble and pass? They're like, yeah, we really just want them to catch and shoot. We don't want them to even think about dribbling and passing. Like, I don't think this is going to work out. And luckily, early on last year, they realized, hey, this is a really big mistake to have 0 people on the basketball court who can dribble and pass, because when Luka actually makes a pass, we want these people to be able to make a decent decision and be a triple threat. Dribble, shoot, pass. Very simple grade school basketball. And so now that you have Grant Williams and Kyrie Irving and Josh Green, obviously Derek Lively can't do those things. He's a catch and dunk, a catch and like, he's not a dribble passer guy, and yet he's only 19. Maybe he gets better at it, but it was really good to see Grant Williams and a guy who, look, he got paid a hair over mid-level exception. He's a hair above average basketball player in the league, but he does have a skill set where if you pass him the ball, he's not, oh God, and nothing against Maxi Kleber. He has his value to the team too. But if Maxi Kleber does not catch and shoot the ball, he cannot dribble and he cannot pass. He just has to hand the ball back to Luka or Kyrie and go, you guys do something. I didn't shoot the ball.
I just wanted to throw this out there and see if you guys care about this. Did you see they're switching back all-star formats to the East versus West?
I like that. I just wish that they would try it basketball during that. And as long as they don't try, I don't really care. It used to be a game where the guys tried some, and now it's we tried none. So I don't care about that. Did you guys like Dwight Powell didn't play?
Not as much as you did, Mike.
The most important part about that All-Star game thing,
at what point did you want Dwight Powell in?
Is that they need to change their jerseys back to just wear your team jersey instead of whatever.
Oh, you don't like the unified East and West?
I want to know where they play, man. Like, give me that one. I want to see them representing my team.
I could definitely see that.
I mean, I know Luka's Luka, but I want to see him. I want other fans to see that jersey, you know?
And they're getting rid of the untimed quarter, so it's going to go back to your 4 12-minute quarters, East versus West, and that will be the All-Star game.
Says Dwight Powell had an illness, so
I know
he was sick of basketball.
He tries as hard as any human being in the history of basketball. I don't think he's ever sick of basketball.
Yeah,
I'll never question that man's effort.
There's a lot of people, if you're like, I could take your willpower and effort and put it in that person's body.
God.
Whew. We're the KNC.
Tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
Another one? That won't be watched by many people.
I would imagine probably not.